everyone. Welcome to the RoundTable, episode 107. I'm Corinne Bates, the worship arts and ministry leader here, filling in for Jenny Walker. Sitting over here is Mike Hill, our lead pastor at Life Church, and in between us is Alice Johnson. Yay!
We have to tell everybody, Corinne is filling in because Jenny is on a mission trip.
She sure is.
So the funny thing is though we're bringing Faith, Sarah's daughter, to the prayer meeting.
Oh, okay.
To bring everybody in. And so Faith is like super like, can't be late. I got everything together. I said, don't worry. Jenny will be late. And then she's like, Jenny? Yeah, I said, Jenny. She's like, oh, she won't be late. And I'm like, I guarantee you, we're all sitting in the prayer circle. Guess who's the latest person? Jenny.
Jenny Walker.
Jenny, to the mission trip. However you're doing that. How do you get late to a mission trip?
Oh, like on Monday? Like, are you talking about the prayer?
The prayer for Monday. So everybody's supposed to be there at 7:30.
Oh my gosh, Jenny.
To have an opportunity to pray. So we're all, it's not, I mean, it's like 7:40 and everybody's kind of gathered around, and finally somebody said, let's just get together. We'll just pray. We think everybody's here. We get everybody. And I'm like, where's Jenny? And here she comes walking up, at the end. So
I just think some people are just like that. They're just inherently late. And then some people are just inherently early. So like me.
Which one are you?
Early.
You're the inherently early?
Okay.
Always. If I'm late, it's a crisis. So.
So what do you think about people that are late?
I've learned to live with it because I have a lot of them in my family. So
it doesn't bother you at all?
It used to. Okay. I mean,
so
now that I've gotten older, it doesn't bother me as bad. I just kind of like, oh yeah, and kind of like Jenny's going to be late. So my family, like I already know they're going to be late. Yeah,
it's already ready.
Yeah.
Is that like, you, Corinne? You're never late to anything.
I am sometimes late. I try not to be. Luke is notoriously early to everything.
Okay.
But
why is that notorious?
He just
isn't that a good
well,
thing?
Yeah. No. Sorry. I guess he's early to work things, but any family get together, we're usually late because he's got to take care of his snakes and stuff. So that always takes priority.
That's the thing I've never figured out when it comes to late, right?
Yeah.
Like even for myself, like how did I not plan ahead of time? Like what happens that, like I get it, some things are out of your control, but the majority of stuff just flat out is we could have started earlier but didn't.
Like, do you have a philosophy of getting to places early? Like if you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. Like, is that?
Well, probably my thing is because I drive so much, like, and with all the traffic and the roads, I'm just always prepared. I always like to be prepared.
Yeah.
I like to.
If there's a train.
Yeah. In case there's, a crash or the roads are tied up or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you. What do you love to do? What are you interested in?
I love to sew and quilt and craft. And so I have a whole room in my house that's dedicated to that. I've done it for years. It's just been my therapy. It's just something I love to do. So I have a Cricut. I have an embroidery machine. I have 2 sewing machines.
A Cricut.
A Cricut. It does like
a Cricut to feed snakes?
No. It's a craft machine. It's called there's different variations of the Cricut machine. So mine's a homemaker. So it actually cuts metals, different kinds of metals, and fabric and things like that. Yeah.
How did it ever get its name Cricut?
I don't know. It's just
because
it
makes a cricket noise when.
Does it really?
No.
Do you have one?
No, we don't.
Okay. So you do a bunch of home craft stuff.
Yeah.
Do you sell it?
Fun. No, I just do it for fun. I do it for family and sometimes for like people at work, for Christmas projects and things like that. I've done a couple I think I did one for Jennifer for Christmas here one year so that we could hang little things on the tree or something,
Nice.
Can you make clothes?
I can.
You can?
I can. I don't love making clothes.
How come? They're too hard or what?
No, it's just, I don't know. It's just it's not a real passion of mine.
You don't want to be a designer jean maker or something?
Well, I used to want to be a designer, actually, when I was real young. When I was like
Johnson
12,
line?
13, I used
AJ's.
to think I was going to grow up to be a designer.
Yeah.
A fashion designer and that, over the years, that kind of like, okay, between wanting to be an archaeologist, an anthropologist, and
Yes.
all
What?
these other
Yes.
things. Oh yes, it was like
Uh-huh.
I went through a lot of phases. in my
Wow.
life that
Uh-huh.
I wanted to do, but I kind of stuck with sewing, and then quilting just kind of became a passion when I was in my early 20s. So I just started doing it. Now it's just like with Google out there and YouTube, there's so many stations that you can feed on to learn new techniques and stuff.
Hmm.
So
So
it's
do you
made it a
teach
lot
people to
easier.
quilt?
I don't. I'd love to, but I'm not a real extrovert. I'm not a person that I have a lot of ideas, but I'm not real social, I guess. I
Okay.
feel awkward.
Hmm.
I am socially awkward.
Aren't we all?
Until I
I
get
feel like
to
we
know
all are.
people, and then I kind of am like just goofy,
Okay.
just who I am. And I like to laugh and have a lot of fun.
Okay.
So
Do you have a favorite movie? Do you watch TV?
I do. I do watch movie. I do watch TV. I guess one of my favorite movies is Cliffhangers with Sylvester Stallone.
I don't think I've ever
I
seen that
love
before.
that movie, and it's on Netflix right now, but it goes away and comes back. And then I love like all the Indiana Jones flicks, and he has a new one coming out, by the way.
What
I
is
just saw
what
that.
is the best Indiana Jones?
Um,
This is a heated question,
The
right?
I
guy
guess
that eats
so
the monkey
far, I
brains.
No.
kind of thought that the
Temple
Temple
of
of
Doom.
Doom is like one of the weirdest, but
Uh-huh.
the more exciting ones. But yeah, I like them all though. They're fun.
Do you have a
Interesting.
favorite?
The Last Crusade.
Okay.
That one used to freak me out though.
Why? Because
Wait, it was
which
maybe
one's
it's the
one?
I
Raiders
like
of the
that
Lost
one,
Ark.
too.
The Lost
I
Ark.
like that one.
Always, I
I
had
like
to
'em all.
close my eyes
yeah,
when they
opened
opened
it
it.
up and they all like
Yep.
turned into
Mush.
yeah.
Yeah, it freaked me out.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
a little creepy.
Mhm.
So what else going on in your life? Anything else? Married, have kids?
I've not married.
Okay.
I do have a son. He's 34 this year.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. And then I have 3 grandchildren. The youngest is 6, the oldest one is 14, and then I have an 8-year-old in between.
Wow.
So
You like
yeah.
being a grandma?
I love being a grandma, but it's getting to be a little exhausting sometimes.
Take your kids back.
I can't do that. But like I don't see them as much because I'm working a regular schedule like Monday through Friday on my job now, where I used to work like kind of like 3 days a week. Now I'm doing 5 days a week. So I don't get to, so I try to spend some, weekends, but they want to come over every weekend. And I'm like, because I spoil them rotten, and I can't. That's my
Ah.
problem with kids and animals. Like I spoil everything rotten.
So you have animals
I have one. I have a
Okay.
Boston Terrier.
Mm.
Yeah.
that you
So-
spoil rotten?
Oh yeah, she's spoiled. Very spoiled.
Mm. Yeah. So did you grow up in Huntington? Always
I
been from
didn't.
here?
I'm from Cincinnati. My brother lived over here. My aunt lived over here, and I moved here in '88.
Okay.
And so I met my husband, who is from here. He's not my husband anymore.
What
We
made you move
divorced.
here?
Meeting him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I came over to stay with my brother for a little while because I had gone through kind of a hard patch over in Cincinnati. I was engaged to a guy and we broke up, and it was kind of rough. So I came over here to kind of get away from everything. And then I met my son's father. And I don't know. I was young, fell in love, and we got married. And we were together for 21 years, but we just grew apart. So yeah, he still lives here. He's just a few miles from me, and him and his new wife and stuff. So
Okay.
yeah, I think one of the things that I think about a lot is marrying, like someone that, because I think I thought that I would get married to someone and that we could just bring a faith together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is hard sometimes because, as of course, once our child came along and I'm like, everything's changing, we're not going to be these crazy people that have everybody over on the weekends because we're going to have a baby here and we got to be responsible adults now,
Right.
And so like I wanted to get into, I've been to a lot of churches around here, and I wanted to get into church. He was Catholic and I was raised Southern Baptist. Not a good combination.
What a great combo.
Very
Southern
weird.
Baptist and Catholic.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
very weird. Well, neither one of us were really practicing our faith at the time when we met. Like, we weren't either one of us in church or anything, but we did talk about it. It was something we talked about before we married and everything. It just wasn't like, oh, this is top of our list right now. So unfortunately,
well, how'd you end up at Life?
This is going to be really a weird story because I tell it to everybody and everybody's like, oh, okay. Okay.
Because you said you've been to numerous churches in Hampton.
I have. And, so after I left my son's father, I moved down to Lebanon, Indiana for a while we went through this whole divorce process. And then I met a man down there and we got married, which did not work out. But I left him in 2013 and came back up here. And then we were just I was driving back to Indy and trying to make that whole marriage work out, and things didn't happen. But that year, 2015, I had gotten back with him in May, and I was coming back from Indianapolis, and I would always come back up 5 and across, down Broadway. I live over on Lincoln, so probably most people don't know where that is, but it's over by the old Becksteins. And so I saw this building again. Every time I go past this building, I was like, my goodness, why is that building just sitting there? I mean, we always thought it was a beautiful architectural building, but it was like there's nothing there still. And then I saw this little flag outside in the grass that I mean, I'm driving by like 30. I probably was going 45. I should have been doing 20. It's been a lot of years ago, so I don't think I can get a ticket for it now. But I just quickly saw that it said Life Church. And I was like, a church? Church? What? And so So
this is in 2015. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
We'd only been here since 2004.
Yeah. And I never knew you guys existed over here.
Yeah.
I never
That's
knew
the reason I said it.
And I kind of thought that, I've thought like later, like maybe if I could have found this church before the end of my marriage, that maybe it would have been something that could have worked for him. But I mean, whatever. It is what it is. So I went online, Googled you guys, and found you. And that's how I wound up in Life
So
Church.
when you went online, what was it that you saw that was like, that's a church I want to try?
It wasn't really that I saw any particular thing. I just looked up Life Church, and then I looked up, like Huntington, and I don't remember, just kind of read about it. And I was like, well, I don't know, maybe I should give it a try. I don't know that it's been a while now. Honestly, I don't remember if there was any particular thing that I read that but I mean, I've never been like in a non-denominational church. And so I was always in a Methodist or a Nazarene or a Baptist or some Protestant type, And so I never had gone to a non-denominational. I mean, maybe I'd gone to one, but not like hung out at one.
So what stuck out when you first came? Like, what made you stay?
Well, I think the thing that stuck out that when I first came was the message. And honestly, today, I can't tell you what it was, but it was almost like that message was for me that day. And something in my life changed, like something in my heart started changing. I'm going to cry and I don't want to, but it did. It just, something in me changed. I don't know what it was. And I started telling people about, my experience. And I think people thought I was crazy. They probably still do, but that's okay. It's all right. So, yeah. I mean, and then I was still seeing my ex-husband, and he had come up, and I asked him if he wanted to come because I wanted to come back. I felt like I was getting something, like I was being pulled here and in some kind of way in my heart. And he's like, no, I don't want to go. Now, he was apostolic, so that was, a little different.
Right.
He wasn't in church either, but his family, all his family, they were all apostolic. So he's like, no, I don't want to go. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going. And I just did. I just came back and got another message almost the same way. And I don't remember what it was. It was just things that just seemed like it was like everything that was going on in my life at the time. It just seemed like that God had a message for me.
Hmm.
And so I just, I didn't come faithfully. I mean, I would come and then I would kind of not come and then I'd come and,
Yeah. Right.
started bringing my granddaughter. Jennifer Eller used to be a bank teller at TCU.
Yeah.
So she used to, I had like a little treasure chest club for my son. It was like a little bank account type deal that you could have with your kids at TCU. It was like, it's a big deal. And so I remembered her. And so she and I got to talking and stuff. And then, I just wanted to get involved and kind of stay in the feeling of the church. Honestly, I just felt relaxed here. I didn't feel like I was pressured. Like, usually you go to church and people are like, oh, when you come up, well, who, and I didn't feel that. Like, I mean, maybe that's wrong that I say that, but I just, I just didn't feel like, I didn't feel pressure. I didn't feel like I had to be here. I didn't feel like people were going to judge me if I didn't come back one day, but then I was here 2 weeks later. People wouldn't come up and be like, well, where you been? What's going on with you? And,
Right.
maybe some people want that, but I really didn't because I was really trying to find a lot of things in my life at the time. So it wasn't like I was, really wanting people. I didn't want to feel like I was in that, like people asking me, what are you doing and stuff,
Yeah. And so before we kind of go back to see where, kind of your life came from or where to
Mhm.
where you are today. So when you were first coming, you're like still navigating things. How do you feel like you are today? Like from you were navigating things, processing things. I
I
mean, do you
feel
feel
like because I think when I started doing Bible study classes over here, it helped me to reach out to a community of, I'm on Lifeway, so like I have a lot of audio and I do a lot of reading,
Mm,
and when I'm not here, I'm always through the week connecting,
mm,
trying to build my relationship with the Lord.
mm,
So that was the one thing that I learned how to do better, or learned how to do, period, because
yeah.
I guess I didn't realize there were so many resources out
Mm,
there
Hmm.
that are out there. And the first one we did was Sewn Together, and I loved that Bible study. And I don't know, I think that it's helped me. The Bible studies helped me to grow in my relationship with the Lord.
yeah, I just think it's always interesting of how, even when we're navigating things, when you can find a community of believers that are trying to figure out the same thing, it helps solidify some stuff,
Mhm.
It
helps us
really does.
get to a place where things tend to make sense. And I think that's part of the cool thing of technology, right, is
Yes.
is that
Yes.
resources and opportunities are at the highest that they've ever been, right? Like you've never had
They
more
are. They really
opportunities
are.
to, even from a connection standpoint, like I'm still flabbergasted of the people that are like, oh yeah, I do my online small group, and in my online small group, like, you
Hmm.
know, I'm connected and we have these resources. I mean, there's just lots of that stuff out
Mhm.
there and lots of opportunities
Right.
for those things.
Well, that's what's kind of cool too. Is so we've got two teams on different mission trips this week. So we've got
Mm,
the high school and the middle school, but the middle school invited us to join a devotional with the middle schoolers. So each day we get through the app, we can see what they're going to be talking about and kind of share our own thoughts, and then we know that then the middle schoolers are going to discuss it. So
yeah.
it's cool in the intergenerational connection
Yeah. No,
kind of a
that's
thing.
cool.
Hmm.
Yeah. So talk to us then about, so did you grow up in the church? Was church always an important part of your life? Kind of take us on your faith journey.
So, like, when I was real little, my parents divorced when I was about 4, and my grandmother had just gotten into a church. So, um, my grandmother kept trying to get my mom to gear us into church. I just remember anytime that my mom and my grandmother had a discussion, it was always about how my mom needed to get us into church. So
Hmm.
my mom would get a little frustrated with it. Sometimes, she'd kind of moan around the house about it, but
Didn't want to be bossed by her mom.
right, pretty much. But my mom was kind of a free spirit, so she kind of wanted to do her own thing. But she did agree to start letting us kids go to church, and she thought it was a good idea. For a minute, she sat around and kind of read the Bible to us and talked to us about stories like that were in, that we were learning in church. She would go a couple times, but not so much.
What about your dad? Was he involved?
My dad and my mom and dad divorced when I was 4.
Okay.
And so my dad, I never saw him again until I was about 12, when me and my my oldest sister and brother were all orphaned to the state in Ohio.
Wow.
And that's when I saw my dad.
No, wait a sec. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
That's a big jump.
I got to make sure I connect.
Yeah.
So can you say it one more time?
Well, because my mom and dad divorced when I was 4.
Yes.
We were living with my mom.
Yep.
And my mom was, I guess, not just a free spirit, but maybe just not a very stable person.
Okay.
And so as I was 12, my brother was 11, and my sister was 14, and we were orphaned to the state of Ohio. So
Really?
basically, we didn't have anyone to care for us. So that's when I met my dad. I was in an orphanage home. Yeah,
There
it's
was
the
a
first time I'd
thing,
seen
like there
my
were actually
dad.
orphaned homes back then?
There still are.
What?
Yeah, Beach Acres still exists over in Beachmont, Ohio.
Really?
That was where I lived when I got orphaned to the state because they couldn't find any place for me. So my brother wound, and it was the only thing that was devastating about that was that I was separated from my sister and my brother.
Wow.
They weren't at the same place?
No, because we were different ages, we
Oh.
had to go different places. So the only real support group that I ever had was them. And so that was hard.
Yeah.
It's real tough.
So how long were you there? So you were 12 when you first went in?
I was 12 when I first, I think I was 11 or 12. We had gone to a big foster home in Cincinnati. And then they just split us off to different places. So my oldest sister and I wound up going to this girl's group home. My brother wound up going somewhere else. And then eventually my sister wound up going somewhere else, and then I went somewhere else because all those places were temporary. So, yeah. So, I don't know,
obviously
probably
during-
about a year,
Okay.
year and a half. Yeah.
Okay.
It was
And then you got adopted out of there?
no,
Oh.
no. I wish it would have been that good.
Yeah, I just didn't know
the
how that
thing of it
works.
is when you get older, it's hard to adopt out of the system because people don't really want you because you got too many problems by then. So, it was my dad. Basically, what happened is they told my dad that he either comes and gets me or pays the state for my welfare to stay there. So he showed up in a suit one day at the dining room table in my cottage that I lived in, and I came home from school, and there sat my dad in a 3-piece suit. And he's like, "Oh, hey, Ann." My middle name's Ann, so all my family call me Ann. And he said, "Oh, hey, Ann." And I knew right away it was my dad. I hadn't seen him in years, but I knew it was him. And I just ran to him. I mean, it's my dad.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
So then you
And
went to live with him?
I did. It was a little strained because I guess the state kind of came at him. Well, he got remarried to another woman. He had another child. And the state came at him like, you need to get these kids or you need to pay for them one thing or another,
Right.
So he started trying to work out ways in his home life to fit every one of us into his home. And of course that caused a lot of strain on his marriage and with his new family and stuff. So, but he got my sister because she was getting ready to go into the Job Corps. And he didn't want her going in the Job Corps. He said, absolutely not. You're not going in the Job Corps. So he rescued her from going into the Job Corps.
What is the Job Corps?
I really don't know. It was like a program back in the 70s that teenagers could get into, that where they would, it was almost like a military type thing.
Okay.
And they would go there and they would work and earn degrees in special, almost like, I guess, what we would think of today as like a vocational school. Yeah. But it was more military-like. Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, that's the best I know about Job Corps, because I don't really know that.
So when you guys all got, you got back together, you're living with your dad. Faith at this point, church. I mean, was your dad
My dad was a self-proclaimed atheist. And as time went by through the years, I think I convinced him he's more agnostic than atheist, because he's a nice person, a good person. He just doesn't, he will not ever believe that, there's a man named Jesus that died for us and saved us from our sins. He won't confess that.
Right.
He thinks he's too smart to confess that. However, he is laying on his deathbed today, and I keep trying to talk to him about it and hope that maybe.
Yeah. So you grow up, you end up meeting a guy. Still at this point, faith isn't a huge part of your. I'm just trying to put it together
really
because
not,
where you're at
but
today.
I always prayed and I always had faith. I don't know, like when I was young. So not only did my mom send us to church, we also had a church that was called Landmark Baptist Church that used to bus in the inner cities and pick up us kids and take us to church. So I went to church a lot for when I was little. So I just always believed, and that was always my peace was going to a church and talking to people, missionaries and things in the church that would come and see us. And so even when I was out on my own, I would go to a church every now and then, but I just never stayed with it.
Sure. Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out, because to where you are today, I mean, you can see the emotion and like you can see like where and how faith is important to you.
It's very important to me.
How it's important for the people that you love to believe the same
important.
thing. And so I was just like, if you're sitting here listening to this, I mean, that's quite a journey, right? I mean, from where you were and, going through an orphanage and then, you go through, you get married and essentially, even though you both had professions, I mean, there wasn't really a center of your life.
Right.
I mean, it's the way that it sounds, right? And then you get to this place where another, like, oh crap, the marriage didn't work, and then the marriage didn't work again.
Right.
I'm just saying I mean, that's something inside of you, something, and that's what I'm just trying to get to. Like, what did you keep holding on to through those times? Because I think this is a lot of people's story is that, they knew of and had, and then there's a lot of things in between. You know what I mean? There's a lot of, I don't know,
I think a lot of times when I would just feel like, I don't know, even when I was younger, I would just always pray. I always believed in prayer. Excuse me, my sinuses are so bad. I'm serious. It's horrible. I'm so sorry. But I always believed in prayer, and I still believe in prayer, and I believe in it more now than I ever did. That I, even I know that if I pray, and it's not always just, okay, I'm just going to say a prayer. Sometimes I will literally walk around the house and just talk to God. And I've done that for years because if I get to a point, and I think that I feel in my life that he's really the only one that's ever been able to understand me. That's the way I feel in my heart. Like I can tell people things, but it's kind of a lot to take. It's a lot to talk about. It's a lot for people to understand. But I always feel like God knows me, and he's always known me, and he still knows me. And so I always feel comfortable with that.
Yeah. And when did that click for you? Because again, there's this nature of what you talk about, like knowing that God's there, knowing to pray, but the depths of what you just said,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that doesn't just, I mean, that is something that's profound when people recognize
Yeah.
that I'm known by God and he knows me. Like
Yes.
that's a huge, like when did that click for you? Was it after, your divorces? Was it in the middle of those things?
I
Like,
think it's been really, really and truly recently, maybe over the last 7 years,
mm,
5 to 7 years.
mm,
I can't pinpoint, but I just started feeling like, you know, um, I think I always knew it, but
mhm,
I really, really know it now.
right,
And I know for a fact that nothing can separate me from believing that and understanding that.
right.
So, and it's okay because I know he's with me. I know he's walking with me. And I feel like, I guess the thing that I feel sometimes is I don't do enough to help other people.
Mm,
But sometimes I feel like my journey is so hard
mm,
that it's just so hard to get out and help people. I don't know what to do.
right,
Hmm.
So I try to help,
right.
try to be there. And I'm sorry, I'm just a very emotional
No,
person.
it's fine.
I think it's cool. I mean, you're here sharing your story today,
Yeah.
which is, I mean, I think a cool way to help people, to relate to people. It's you had the courage today to come and talk in front of a camera while your sinuses are big and nasty, but
Well, I
yeah.
guess really, ultimately, I would like to let people know that Jesus is real, God is here, and he will walk you through things,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
he will be here for you, and he will lift you up. It doesn't mean that you're going to be on cloud nine every day, but, he'll walk you through little things. He'll give you highs that you've never known. And, when you're in those low valleys, he'll walk with you. I sometimes now over the last 7 months started doing this thing in my car or even in my house now that when I'm having a really tough time, I envision Jesus sitting next to me and just
Mm,
grabbing my hand,
mm,
and I'll just hold him like he's holding my hand.
mm,
And then it makes me feel better because I feel like, he's there.
right,
I know he's there. I just
right,
can't
right,
feel his hand,
Mhm.
right.
but I do feel it because it's like an energy that'll run through me.
Hmm.
And so I know he's there.
And so for people that are listening, that because everybody has their own story and their own struggles, right?
Right.
And what would you say to them? What are some things that you did possibly to make it through those times that they were dark? I mean, regardless of how you say it, there were some times in your life that were very difficult,
Those
and
weren't even the most difficult. Losing my sister 4 years ago was probably the hardest thing that ever happened to me.
mm,
Mm.
But dropping to my knees, praying,
mm,
asking God to show me what it is that, to be there with me, to help me, and to guide me. And I do that a lot.
mm,
Um, I think that, well, I know that if you ask him, he will show you. You have to be open to it.
mm,
You have to be open to, uh, no, and then, knowing what the truth is. And
yeah,
that is a prayer in its own right, is just knowing what is the truth,
mm,
because sometimes you can think something's the truth, but it's not.
right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so so for our viewers and people that are listening,
Hmm.
settling on an opportunity to teach yourself to have a conversation with God, which is
Yes.
prayer. I mean, prayer being a conversation that you
Yes.
can have, and getting to the point where you can trust him, right? Through your
Yes.
conversations and through um yeah, just the back and forth, because that's where you are today. It starts with
Yeah.
conversations, but it ends with this. He knows me.
Yes.
Right. And so he
Yes.
knows you because you have conversations with him. I
Yes.
mean, meaning that's what we feel in our heart. We know he knows us, but there is something that solidifies when you can have a conversation with God back and forth. It solidifies like, yeah, like
Yep.
he really does know me,
Yeah.
and create opportunities for those things to happen.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
Good.
agree.
All right, so we're at a 30-minute mark. So we'll just
Okay.
say, do we have one question?
We have a question.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, no.
I feel like Jenny. Hold on, let me find it real quick.
Wow, Nick, come on.
I know. Peggy Eads asks,
Do you know Peggy?
I met her here at church because
Okay.
she had on a beautiful blouse. And I asked her where she got her blouse.
Oh,
And
okay.
so we started talking.
Well, good. That's a great way to
Yeah.
drum up the conversation.
Peggy asks, what is your favorite part of being a nurse?
Oh, you didn't
yeah.
even say that.
Oh, yeah.
Through this whole thing, you're a nurse. You've always
Yeah,
been a nurse?
I've been a nurse for 30 years.
Wow.
And I think
Well,
just
wait, can I interrupt first? Like, what kind of a nurse?
I'm a registered nurse.
No, I know, but like, do you like in the hospital?
Travel nurse.
Well,
Or you?
I
like-
worked at bedside until last year. I moved away from bedside nursing because ICU, critical care, for 20 years. And then I had worked LTACs and skilled facilities and things with travel before that. So I've always been at bedside, but I can't do it anymore because I'm getting old. And it was hard. It was hard to admit, but I'm a case manager now.
Okay.
So, but yeah,
So,
I
favorite
guess
thing about being
my
a nurse?
favorite thing about being a nurse was being able to talk with people, meeting people. I love people, and just offering them hope and letting them know that I'm going to do everything I can to take care of you. And their smile, and then they say that I always had a pleasant smile, and that, I had gentle hands to care for them. So that made me feel good.
Do you ever have any bad patients?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I would be one of them.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I
Mike.
had a lot of bad patients.
I hate the doctor.
Yeah.
I-
No, a lot of people do. And it's okay. Usually we just don't even talk about medical at that point. We just start talking about good things, your family, baseball, football, whatever. I don't
Okay.
care. I talk about whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know much about it, but I'll talk about it. Let you do all the talking. Next thing you know, you forget about it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
always forget that there's somebody else on the other end of my grumpiness if I ever have to go to the doctor.
Luke always said he was a phlebotomist for a little bit.
Uh-huh.
He always said
What?
the phlebotomists, the people who draw blood.
Draw blood.
That's
a
what
blood-
it's called?
Yeah.
A phlebot.
Phlebotomist.
Yeah.
What's that come from?
Phlebotomy is like
Phleb,
the study of
Phleb?
Yeah. Yeah.
blood.
Pee. Yeah, it's blood. It's a medical term.
So he was the guy that would stick you and miss all the time.
Actually, he was a very good stick. That's
Okay.
what he said. But he always said that the biggest, strongest guys were always the crybabies. They'd
No,
like
that would
flinch
be me.
away and
That-
there'd be some child that was just like
Oh,
there.
yeah. No, I'd be like,
The
dude,
guys with the
Uh-huh.
tattoos
Like,
all
no,
over them and everything. They're like, oh.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to look. I don't want to look. I don't want to look. Yeah. But with
Yeah.
Sherry, like she got stuck all the time.
Mhm.
And they started to use ultrasound to
Yeah,
find the
they
veins.
do
So
that
they
a
had the
lot
little thing,
now.
and
Yeah.
they're looking up there on the screen. And
Yeah.
Yep.
so that they
Yeah.
would quit missing. I mean, not that they were missing on purpose, but
Right.
It's hard. It's hard sometimes. Some people have deep veins, so they can't find them without those ultrasounds.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say,
But
I've got-
yeah,
got some good veins.
you do.
Judas.
No wonder your
Uh-huh.
husband married you.
He's like,
"Marry
her.
Got those
at
good
You
veins."
have got the best veins.
Yes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Oh, that's
There they
funny.
are.
Any other questions, Nick?
Peggy goes on to say,
Oh, I'm sorry.
did you feel a calling to be a nurse from God?
I did, absolutely. I felt like it was my calling to give back,
Hmm.
to be a servant, because of all that he had done for me.
Yeah, and you say you don't feel like you've done enough, man. If you're a nurse, you're going way above and beyond taking care
Well,
of people, especially
Mhm.
people like me. Yeah, that would be awful.
It's not. It's not. It's not that awful, really. It's
yeah,
not.
with good patience, that's what I'm saying.
Even the bad ones can be funny. I mean, we just get outside and we just laugh about people. We're like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
Here's this big burly man just can't stand a needle.
Oh, that would be me.
Mike Hill, there he is.
After my
The
car
poster
accident,
child, we're putting him on
I'm
the-
sitting there with broken ribs and my ribs were displaced. And so they put in a thing.
An IV.
Yeah. And the lady kept falling asleep at the little station thing.
Oh,
like
my.
I'm looking out there and her head's down. And I'd be like, hey, I need some help in here. I don't think this is right. Finally, I had broken ribs. I worked myself out, walked out there, my arm, because the IV thing wasn't in the vein and it was just filling.
Oh,
my
gosh.
goodness.
It was like this
Infiltration.
great big softball.
Oh, what a
And I'm like,
nightmare. Those
I went up
that
to the
will
desk. Hey, I don't think this is right. She looks up like, oh my gosh. I'm like, that's my experience of being in the hospital.
Yeah, well, no wonder you don't like needles then.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like them either. I don't
Yeah.
like them. I don't like
Yeah.
needles either, but
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. And again,
Thanks.
thanks for sharing your story.
You're
I
welcome.
think it's a huge testament to, in the midst of everything that you have done, that you held on to your faith, and not only held on to your faith, you've grown in your
Growing
faith
it.
and be able to see, God work in amazing ways. And
absolutely.
so we're excited. We continue to watch your
Thanks.
journey and see how God
Okay.
continues to use you. So,
Mhm.
Corinne, send us out with the. You
Here we
got
go.
it.
I got it.
You don't even have to look.
I got it. Nope. So the
You looked.
here. No, I was looking at where Nick had the
You
camera. I
liar.
was looking at the
You
camera.
looked at the TV.
No,
I'm
so
just kidding.
the questions we got from the texting group. So you can text podcast to 260-408-8383 to join our texting group. So that's you can send questions if you have comments or concerns, different things you want to send. You can send throughout the week, or if you know anyone who wants to be on the podcast, you can text that number. So text podcast and your name so we know who you are to 260-408-8383.
Yeah, awesome.
Look at that.
So if you are watching and or listening, or if you see this clip on Facebook, because this will come out, I think it's on Thursday, something like that when it comes out. And there's always a clip. And what we want you to do with the clip is, one, put, a name with a face, so if you look at it and you see Alice on Sunday, come up and say hi. Don't overwhelm her. She doesn't want a bunch of people, but
compliment her
a
blouse.
few people.
There we go.
A few people. I'm just kidding. But again, come up, introduce yourself, start helping build that relationship piece. We'd love that. If you're on there, remember, like, comment, and share. Gives us an opportunity to get Alice's story out there to a lot of different people. So if you can participate in that, we would love that. So again, thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you guys next
God
week.
bless.
See ya.